Hello everyone, DarkOfAllTrades here. Now the video today is a smidgen clickbaity. It is from a channel called Lift with Christ. Now I have to admit, the guy has some killer muscles. I know I work out, but this guy made it part of his identity. It is not easy to get to that state, so kudos to him for that mental discipline. Unfortunately, that is where my compliments are going to end, as he decided to spend his time working out rather than studying, I guess. Maybe he can listen to some audiobooks while he lifts. Now I know that's a bit harsh for me, but I assure you it is deserved. The title of this short video is 3 Questions Atheists Are Afraid to Answer. This idea of X group is afraid to answer is pretty asinine. This kind of wording hits one of my biggest pet peeves. That is, it assumes you know what another person's motivation is, what's in their head. So let me be very clear. I am not afraid to answer any question. I am quite active in my comment section, answering questions and engaging in discussions with fans and would-be antagonizers. I answer questions directly, and if I somehow miss one, I ask what I missed so I can address it. I go out of my way to answer questions people have. That is one aspect of a good teacher. We don't shy away from questions. And even if we don't have an answer or just don't want to answer, we point the questioner to more resources they can use. So I'll make all of you religy boys a deal. You don't tell me what I think or feel ever, and I won't tell you what you think or feel. As I've said before, I'm an amateur magician as well, so I guarantee you I am far better at pretending to know what you think better than you are at pretending to know what I think. So let's just avoid the condescension from here on out, can we? Yeah, I know it is likely just clickbait, and judging by the views it seems to work. To address some comments I've received on my more recent responses to shorts, I am neutral about the sound of my voice. I pause videos to respond when there's a point to respond to. Shorts tend to have those more rapid fire, so I have to pause after a sentence or two in order to address it properly, lest someone accuse me of missing a point, so that validates the person's whole video. I try to be thorough, though I am open to suggestions on how to do it better. Let me know your suggestions in the comments for addressing these shorts. Now, on to the video.
These are 3 questions that atheists are afraid to answer, and the last question will probably stump you.
I love it when there's a weird difference between the words on screen and what's being said. I believe he said stump you, not stomp you. Not a lot of stomping going on in this video, unless it is stomping all over logic. And what do you mean, stump you? Are you making this video talking to atheists? You're giving away a lot in your wording. You're already condescending and now adding arrogant to the mix? Oh boy. This is either going to be a series of super hard questions or the laziest writing I've ever seen. I haven't seen past this point yet in the script writing process, so I don't know yet. Let's find out.
If God isn't real, then how did this entire universe form?
Starting off strong here. First, let me go into why this is just a terrible question. Then I promise to address the question directly. The question contains a logical fallacy known as a false dichotomy or false dilemma. It presents only 2 options. Either God is real and created the universe, or God is not real and there's no explanation for the universe's existence. This oversimplification ignores other potential explanations and assumes that the only possible answer is a supernatural one. This could potentially not be the case if the speaker was asking the question honestly, but I've been at this long enough to understand that this is rarely the case. The question also reflects a common argument known as the God of the Gaps argument. This argument asserts that if science cannot currently explain a phenomenon, then God must be the explanation. However, this line of reasoning can be problematic because it places God in the gaps of our current scientific understanding. As science progresses and provides natural explanations for previously unexplained phenomena, the gap where God is invoked tends to shrink.
If that's how you want to invoke your evidence for God, then God is an ever-receding pocket of scientific ignorance that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller as time moves on.
Critics will argue that attributing the origin of the universe to a deity is not a scientific explanation in itself, but rather a theological or philosophical assertion. Scientific inquiry continues to explore the origins of the universe through fields such as cosmology, astrophysics, and theoretical physics, aiming to understand natural processes that may have led to the universe's formation. It is important to recognize that the search for understanding the origins of the universe is an ongoing scientific endeavor, and attributing it to a deity is a matter of personal belief rather than empirical evidence. Even still, let me grant the existence of some God. There are a number of questions one can ask in response. What makes you believe a God created the universe? Can you point to specific reasons? Since we know the Big Bang happened, how do you see your belief in God aligning with scientific explanations like the Big Bang? Can you imagine a scenario where both natural processes and God's influence play a role in the universe's formation? Have you considered the different ways various religions explain the universe's origins? How do you handle these differences? And ending with my personal favorite, is it possible that some God didn't make the universe but made the thing that made the universe? So my advice is stop using this question as if it is some sort of smart guy question. It really isn't, and mostly just shows that you stopped thinking and are appealing to magic. Now on to the direct response to the question. We know the universe exists, so how did it come to be in its current state? The most widely accepted scientific explanation is the Big Bang Theory. Now I've talked about the Big Bang Theory in previous videos, and while I'm not an astrophysicist or cosmologist, I do have at least a basic understanding of the Big Bang Theory. Very briefly and likely insultingly oversimplified, according to the Big Bang Theory, the universe originated from an extremely hot and dense state approximately 13.8 billion years ago. At this initial moment, all matter and energy in the universe was concentrated in a singularity, that is, an infinitely small and dense point. What happened before this point? We don't know, and you don't know. No one knows because it is impossible to investigate beyond the Planck time. It may be nonsensical to say before the Big Bang, as that is when our local presentation of time began. So asking what happened before time existed is not a coherent question. For something to happen, there needs to be time. No time, no actions. The universe began expanding rapidly from this initial state. As it expanded, it cooled down, allowing fundamental particles such as quarks and electrons to form. During the first few minutes of the universe's existence, conditions were suitable for the synthesis of light elements like hydrogen and helium through a process called nucleosynthesis. About 380,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe had cooled enough for atoms to form. This event, known as recombination, resulted in the release of photons, creating the cosmic microwave background, or CMB, which is observable today. Over millions and billions of years, matter in the universe clumped together under the influence of gravity, forming galaxies, stars, and other cosmic structures. Again, this is a super simplified explanation. If you want to learn more about this, there are a number of resources you have available to you. Check the NASA website for information on the universe. I'll leave links to NASA's Universe Basics site in the description. Stanford University has a website on cosmology, which I'll leave in the description as well. Books like A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking or Cosmos by Carl Sagan can go into detail. Or consider taking an introductory astronomy or astrophysics course at a local university or community college. If that isn't an option for whatever reason, many universities offer online courses for free or through platforms like Coursera and edX.
Nextly, who was the first man and how were people created?
This is really two questions which he just smashed together into one, but I said I'm going to answer them directly, so I will. I'm going to split them into two questions for clarity. The question of who was the first man involves the theory of evolution. According to this theory, humans, like all living beings, have evolved over millions of years through a process of natural selection. The concept of a first man doesn't align with a specific individual, but rather with a population of early Homo sapiens, the species to which modern humans belong. Fossil evidence, genetic studies, and other scientific disciplines contribute to our understanding of human evolution. The earliest members of the Homo genus, such as Homo habilis and Homo erectus, represent our stages in our evolutionary history. While pinpointing a single first man is challenging due to the gradual nature of evolution, the scientific consensus supports the idea that modern humans share a common ancestry with other primates and have evolved over an extended period. From a religious perspective, different faith traditions have their own stories and beliefs about the creation of humans. For example, in Christianity, I assume this guy is some flavor of Christian, there's a story of Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. Other religions have their own unique narratives. However, we know Adam and Eve didn't exist as individuals. According to the article Allelic Genealogy and Human Evolution by Naoyuki Takahata, in biology, the most recent common ancestors of humans, when traced back using the Y chromosome for the male lineage and the mitochondrial DNA for the female lineage, are commonly called the Y chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve, respectively. These do not fork from a single couple at the same epoch, even though the names were borrowed from the Tanakh. A source for this article is in the description. Many people find ways to personally reconcile these perspectives, seeing science as explaining the how of creation and their faith providing the why. On to the next part. I touched on this briefly with the first part, but I can talk a bit more about it. The current understanding of how people came to be or were created, to use your language, is based on the theory of evolution. According to this theory, the process of evolution led to the development of various species over millions of years, including the emergence of Homo sapiens or modern humans. Humans, like all living organisms, share a common ancestry with other species and gradually developed over time through natural selection. This process involves the passing on of advantageous traits from one generation to the next, leading to the diverse forms of life we see today. It is a fascinating field of study with a wealth of evidence from various scientific disciplines.
Lastly, if Jesus wasn't born 2023 years ago, then when did we start keeping track of the Common Era calendar year?
Really? This is the question that is probably going to stump me? This isn't the gotcha question theists seem to think it is. Again, like every question, I'm going to assume this was actually asked in good faith, with a desire to know the actual answer. I covered this idea a bit more in depth in other videos, but let me give the shortened version. The Common Era calendar, as you call it, is based on the traditional calculation of the birth of Mr. Jesus. However, historical and scholarly consensus suggests that Mr. Jesus wasn't born precisely in the year 1 CE or 0 CE. The calendar we use today was introduced in the 6th century by the monk Dionysius Exiguus, who aimed to establish a Christian chronology. If we were to be more precise, historical records indicate that the introduction of the calendar may have had some errors, and Mr. Jesus' birth likely occurred a few years earlier. Additionally, the transition from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar in the 16th century further adjusted the dating system. In essence, the Common Era calendar is a cultural convention that helps us organize and date historical events. The choice of starting point is rooted in religious tradition, and while it may not align perfectly with the historical timeline, it serves as a widely accepted standard for chronological reference. The starting point is a matter of cultural tradition rather than historical accuracy. That is all really basic information. A couple minutes with your Google machine could get you some basic answers to that are not God did it. The rest of the video is him asking for Christians to put some affirmation about their God in his comment section, and asking atheists to respond to one of those questions in his comment section. And that is literally all of his short video. Let me TLDR these responses. If God isn't real, then how did this entire universe form? The universe originated from a hot, dense state around 13.8 billion years ago. From this initial singularity, the universe expanded, cooled, and allowed for the formation of fundamental particles. Over time, through processes like nucleosynthesis and the clumping of matter under gravity, galaxies, stars, and other cosmic structures emerge. Who was the first man, and how were people created? Homo sapiens evolved over millions of years through natural selection, with no specific individual representing the first man. If Jesus wasn't born 2023 years ago, then when did we start keeping track of the Common Era calendar year? The calendar rooted in the traditional calculation of Mr. Jesus' birth was introduced by a monk in the 6th century. While it does not align with historical records, it serves as a cultural convention for organizing and dating events, with its adoption and adjustments reflecting both religious tradition and societal consensus. I checked the comments after this point just to see what people thought, and there isn't a lot of engagement for 186 comments. There isn't really much actual discussion going on, but the people that responded to the questions seem to have similar responses, though shortened, so I must not be too far off, right? And that's it for this one. So what did you think? Do you think these questions were too scary for an atheist to answer? Or do you think this guy probably doesn't know what he's talking about and just wanted to make something clickbaity? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have a different answer to any of these questions than I do, I would love to read them. Put those in the comments below as well. If you enjoyed the exploration of cosmic and evolutionary honesty to these questions, hit the like button. Though if you want to be sucked into the gravitational pull that is my channel, you can hit subscribe if you haven't already. Channel membership is now available as well, where you can get custom emojis to drop in the chat and comment section. Otherwise, you can hit super thanks for a one-time present, and I'll read your comment at the end of the next video. Tigger62 says on my last video, "Thanks, nice one, especially that part about praying for others in private and letting your God take care of the rest. Proselytizing in general makes me uncomfortable, so I would love it if more believers took the hands-off approach." Well, Tigger62, I'm really glad you like that. I also like the idea of people not being God-botherers. Can you imagine if every religion did public proselytizing? Though I'm not part of it, when the Satanic Temple does anything like that, there's outrage from the Christian community. Double standard much? Thank you so much for your super thanks. And an extra special thanks to my patrons, Calamitous Anima, Long-Haired Lefty, Musical Ocelot, Jammin' Bomb, and Kai Henningsen, who are the biggest bangs that keep the content of my channel orbiting around the internets. If you'd like to be more than just a dark matter observer, you can join them for as low as $1 a month at patreon.com/DarkOfAllTrades. But seriously, all of you watching are the shining stars that lead me to make better content. Thank you all. And as always, keep learning.